Number One Super records strong returns. UN and state discuss results. And sexual abuse cases on the rise in Leh.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Tuesday's news. Contributors to Number One Super have received a 3.7% interest on their contributions following the announcement of the fund's 2018 performance. Chairman of Number One Super, Anthony Smare, when announcing the Super Fund's full-year results, said despite the difficult economic climate in PNG, sound investment decisions had returned significant positive results, despite these results being much lower than previous years.
I've been on the board, it's been 7 years I've been on the board, it's been the top.
Today, representatives of contributors to Number One Super gathered at the fund's headquarters for the official announcement of financial results for 2018. The difficult circumstances were remedied through a thoughtful diversification of its investments, coupled with good governance. These meant that despite the tough economic times the country had faced over the last 12 months, Number One Super realized a net profit after tax of 274 million kina for the year 2018.
So that 274 million kina is less than last year's net profit of 405 million kina. It could be less. So if you reflect on the income, what we've done in building up the cash and dividends and property income is that we've built now the fund has a solid 7% in cash returns that covers our members. And then you take away, if the valuations go up, you do better. If the valuations go down, then it reduces the 7% out to a level that helps you. But the idea is that we never make a loss.
Given this financial performance, the board of Number One Super also announced a crediting rate of 3.7% to be paid to all contributors of Number One Super. Despite this crediting rate being the lowest in the last 7 years, Mr. Smare emphasized that the fund continued to outperform other superannuation funds in the country.
To an interest crediting rate of 3.7% for members for this year. Which I think is a fantastic result in these conditions. And when you look at it all together, the thing to keep in mind is that the 3.7% interest over 7 years works out to be a 7.5% interest over CPI of 4.6%. Over 7 years, you've seen 2.5 billion kina in profits, in growth credited to your account. The account of 178,000 members. And our asset size is now at 6.9 billion kina.
Addressing the media soon after, Chairman Smare emphasized the importance of diversifying their investments, a measure taken by the fund over the last 7 years.
It's another reason why members of Number One Super need to contribute more. You need to put in voluntary savings, you need to, when you retire, leave your money in the fund because of growth. The growth is there for the fund. This is a bad year and we're getting 274 million kina. This is the worst year that we've had while I've been on the board, and we get 270 million kina. Can you imagine when the economy rebounds? That's when you're going to see really, really strong growth, because that's when all of our valuations will come back.
Looking forward, Number One Super says there is opportunity for further investment growth within the country, with the chairman hinting at further expansion of the fund's property portfolio, not only in Port Moresby, but also in outside centres. At the same time, Mr. Smare also encouraged contributors to continue developing a savings culture now to ensure they received full benefits from Number One Super's range of investments. This week, heads of the Department of Personnel Management and National Coordinating Office of Bougainville Affairs appeared before the Parliamentary Bipartisan Committee on Bougainville Matters. The hearing, the first following a recent visit to the autonomous region of Bougainville by members of this parliamentary committee. The Parliamentary Bipartisan Committee on Bougainville Matters conducted a public hearing on Monday with the Department of Personnel Management and National Coordinating Office of Bougainville Affairs appearing before the committee. Committee member and Bougainville Regional MP Joe Lera, in his remarks, acknowledged the relative difficulties faced by the autonomous region of Bougainville, mostly due to a lack of attention from the national level.
We are to report to the National Parliament biannually or as and when required on updates of work in progress on the implementation of the Bougainville Peace Agreement.
Acting Secretary for the Department of Personnel Management, Tai Sansan, was the first to appear before the committee. Ms. Sansan was asked about DPM's views on reforms carried out within the Bougainville Public Service, especially in this critical time of preparing for the upcoming political referendum. She was also asked about her opinion on the role and conduct of the National Coordinating Office of Bougainville Affairs.
The development and vetting of the Bougainville Public Service General Orders and the bill. They're proposing a new bill, 2018. So we had some discussions with them on the proposed bill. We've noticed that there were no prior consultation with the National Department, which is us. So under the peace agreement, it says that there must be the consultation process must take place between the two agencies.
Acting Director of NCOBA, John Anuma, also appeared before the bipartisan committee. When asked to explain the progress of work done by his organization in coordinating the efforts between both governments, Mr. Anuma revealed funding to be a major hindrance. However, given the recent commitments made by the national government to the autonomous region of Bougainville in the lead-up to the referendum, there was optimism that NCOBA's efforts would improve.
The funding currently, our minister has submitted for a total of 54.3 to the National Parliament. The national government has already made commitment of 20 million in the 2019 national budget. We also got, after our meeting with the BRC chairman, on Referendum Commission chairman, Honorable Betty Hayen, and Deputy Prime Minister and my minister, Honorable William Sam. After our meeting with him, the Deputy Prime Minister and Treasurer has committed another 10 million for the Bougainville referendum. So in all, the national government has committed 30 million.
There's not enough time.
However, committee member Izzy Henry Leonard ripped into NCOBA, claiming this government agency had not done enough up until now, with concerns that time was quickly running out for NCOBA to adequately assist in preparing the people of Bougainville for the upcoming referendum.
And you as NCOBA, as the person responsible in NCOBA, please make it work. And make sure all those people, all the stakeholders that are involved, they must support you. Whether it be finance, whether it be treasury, whether it be personal management, they must now all help you to make it work. NCOBA must work. There's no time to lose. We only have a few more days to go before we present a report to Parliament, and also a few more months to go before Bougainville goes to referendum. NCOBA must work.
The United Nations, with senior government officials and development partners, discussed the United Nations 2018 results and 2019 priorities today. Major projects including the 2020 census and the Bougainville referendum were some matters discussed in the meeting.
In 2018, the United Nations spent a total of over 260 million kina in Papua New Guinea. More than 130 million kina was used for joint programming, while much of the funds were used for the two declared state of emergencies, the earthquake in Southern Highlands and the polio outbreak. The UN managed to meet the needs of about 500,000 people affected by the quake. The polio vaccination campaign was a huge success, reaching 97% of children under 15.
Huge effort that achieved great strides in terms of reaching out is actually institutionalized and structured so as to enable to raise the level of routine immunizations, and the target that the government have put for this year is at least 80% of the children, so as to ensure that 10 years down the road we do not have another outbreak.
The UN has also supported the national government and the autonomous Bougainville government in carrying out the Bougainville Peace Agreement.
And it was a peace agreement that was negotiated by the two parties without external interference, and that have been lasting so long thanks to the dialogue and the collaboration in pure Melanesian style between the two governments. And I am totally confident that through the accompaniment and the support of the international community, that peaceful process will continue.
This year's annual work plan will see an increase in funding to about 18 million kina, with a large amount allocated to health, climate action, gender equality, peace and justice. The UN has been a valued partner of the PNG government, and this year they again will be working closely with the government to carry out essential programs throughout the country. One project that the UN will be taking on board is the 2020 census. They will be leading this project after the 2011 census failed.
The NEC will formally approve the decisions, and that'll happen. So we are enlisting the support of the UN and its experts to join us and head up the census effort, not only to provide the technical input and the managerial input and oversight, but to also train Papua New Guineans.
The UN will continue to work closely with the government during the period leading up to and after the Bougainville referendum. The government will also be looking at the UN to help develop a population growth strategy.
We are struggling as a country and as a government to meet the needs of the current population. Because we are struggling now to provide enough classrooms, provide employment, health services. We don't have doctors in the districts. We have a lot of challenges. These are the realities that we have to deal with as a country. And we are looking to the UN to provide leadership, advice and strategic advice on what we should do as a country.
And a project for markets designed for women, with the first to be built in Vanimo. Elijah Levet, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. It's Tuesday. We'll have more of the day's stories when we come back. Welcome back to National MTV News. Lay District Court Magistrate Edward Cooper said during a court hearing yesterday that sexual abuse cases are serious and priority should be given in handling them. Cooper said this after he adjourned the court hearing of an alleged sexual penetration case committed by a 50-year-old pastor against his niece in 2015 when she was just 11 years old. The matter was adjourned to the 24th of this month for police to prepare charges. This is the third sexual abuse case on a minor just within 3 weeks that MTV News has reported on in Lay.
Yesterday inside this courtroom, a 50-year-old man appeared on a charge of sexual penetration on his 11-year-old niece in 2015. The girl was impregnated and later gave birth to a baby girl in 2016. Lay Sexual Offense Squad police arrested and charged the defendant for sexual abuse of a child and abuse of trust. Lay District Court Magistrate Edward Cooper adjourned the case to the 24th of this month for the police to review their charges. According to Lay Police Sexual Offense Squad, cases of sexual penetration and abuse of trust by the offenders on the victims, especially on minors below the age of 16, has risen since 2017. Officer in charge, Sergeant Mary Waters, said they deal with 4 to 5 cases of sexual offences in a week. Most cases are not reported.
It's already getting out of hand.
Speaking to MTV News last week Thursday, Morbe's Provincial Police Commander Alex Drassal also confirmed that sexual offences have increased in the province.
Families in the district have not reporting this kind of crime to police. But the reported ones was always been updated, recorded, and a few arrests been made on sexual offences, in particular the unlawful sexual assault and incest.
PPC Drassel said more collaborative approach needs to be taken by the government, law and justice sector and the public to find solutions that can aid in minimizing sexual offences. Julie Badui, Owa, National MTV News, Lay.
Parental negligence has been highlighted as a major factor in the increase of persons reported missing in Port Moresby. Port Moresby police say children going to and from school must be accompanied and protected by an adult and should not be travelling alone. Since the 29th of March, at least 5 children have been reported missing in the space of 1 week. 2 of them have been found, while the other 3 remain unaccounted for.
The increase in reports of persons going missing in Port Moresby has become a major concern now that such cases are frequently being reported at police stations in the nation's capital. Lack of parental supervision and family-related violence at home are two reasons police have identified that lead to people going missing or staying away from home.
Our intention is to inform the public again that three main factors are: one, negligence of our parents, especially children and the school-age kids that get lost. That is because of our negligence of our parents and guardians when they move with the children and they neglect to manage their toddlers. And that's how it happened.
Since March 29th, MTV News has collected statistics of people going missing. Some cases have been reported to police, while others only posted pictures of their missing relatives on social media.
Many cases of report of missing people is on family violence incidents. A lot of, especially women and girls, do run away from homes or from partners and friends, and then they report that it's missing. 99% of those are just hiding from their families or friends that they have been hurt, or those that have been hurting them.
Still missing a 33-year-old Josephine Koimbu from Simbu province. She is a mother of 3 and was last seen between Gordons and 8 Mile. She has been missing for 7 days now. And Magdalene Pikip, a 48-year-old woman from Jiwaka province who was reported missing on March 29th. She had attended the police pass out at Bomana but did not return home that afternoon. It has been 11 days since. Thakla Gunga, National MTV News.
An increase in fuel prices this month will see passengers travelling on the Highlands and Ley to Madang Highway having to pay higher fares. Due to the ICCC's recent announcement for the increase, PMV owners say they will now be charging more. Apart from the price of fuel increasing, drivers say other reasons to charge extra are bad road conditions and the high expense of vehicle parts.
Drivers along the Highlands and Ley Madang Highway say the recent hike in fuel price adds to other issues that affects the business on a daily basis. Besides road conditions and holdups, the increase is another expense that will not only affect passengers but the running of the PMV business. Saito is from Jiwaka and is the bus crew of a bus that travels to Madang. Sai says previously 150 kina worth of fuel was enough to reach Madang. However, with the increase in fuel price, that amount has tripled.
But now when the time fuel price increase 180, we have to fuel tank, we have fuel finish.
Joshua Kevin is a bus driver along the Ley Madang Highway. He and others say they will be charging passengers more this month.
But road and bagara fuel price go up na. We have bus price.
Now we have 60 kina, but then we have decide again we have change to put 70 kina. Whether passenger all agree no got them road condition fuel price increase.
Meanwhile, a passenger Beahi Abone, who was bound for Hanganofi in Eastern Highlands today, is feeling the pinch of this increase. He travelled to Ley with his wife recently to witness the graduation of his nephew at the University of Technology. He said PMV buses were now charging more than what he previously paid to come to Ley.
One time me am 20 kina. Tasolo goroka uri kamlo 30 kina and 40 kina. Na Simbu am also kamlo 50 kina and 60 70 kina one time. Am also na plenty have money pla pull up lo eriku stop na. Mi pla waiting buses stop ya sambla ori got money ori go.
ICCC yesterday announced an increase nationwide in retail fuel prices, which took effect yesterday.
The increase is mainly attributed to the increase in the crude oil prices and an increase in domestic sea freight for petroleum products. Charlene Airy, National MTV News, Leh.
Here with National MTV News this Tuesday, we go for another break. When we come back, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to National MTV News. Turning overseas now, one of the most controversial figures in Donald Trump's White House has been given the boot. Head of Homeland Security, Kirsten Nelson, was responsible for implementing the policy separating families at the Mexican border.
It's the picture that defined a crisis. It showed the reality of America's zero-tolerance policy of separating families at the Mexican border. Kirsten Nelson was the face of that policy. She oversaw the prosecution of thousands of adults entering the US illegally, which saw any children travelling with them taken away and put into shelters, or cages, as they were called by critics.
We have to do our job. We will not apologize for doing our job.
For that, she was constantly hounded by the public. The outrage from all quarters was so overwhelming, it even forced Donald Trump into a dramatic U-turn.
I didn't like the sight or the feeling of families being separated.
But today she paid the price. Trump blamed her for a rise in illegal immigrants and forced this letter of resignation. We have implemented historic efforts to defend our borders and combat illegal immigration.
Kirsten Nelson is officially out.
She apparently bore the brunt of the president's anger over the issue of immigration.
She was with him at the weekend when he visited the border to inspect some newly renovated fencing. But the immigration system is overloaded, and his response was get rid of her and threaten to shut down the asylum process altogether.
Our system is full, our country is full. Can't come in, our country is full.
We face a crisis, a real, serious, and sustained crisis at our borders.
A crisis she couldn't control, leaving her with the legacy of at least 3,000 broken families, most still separated.
A British woman has been arrested in Dubai over the comment she posted on Facebook about her former husband's new wife, who she described as a horse, meaning she could face jail time under the country's defamation and cybercrime laws.
Laleh Sharavesh returned from Dubai with her daughter 3 years ago, expecting her husband Pedro to follow. But he divorced her, and Ms. Sharavesh discovered on Facebook that he had a new wife. Furious, she posted, "You married a horse, you idiot." Pedro died last month, but when Ms. Sharavesh arrived in Dubai for the funeral, she was taken into custody, accused of breaking the UAE's strict laws on social media abuse. She'll appear in court on Thursday.
Her emotional state is really, really terrible, really, and I've spoken to her daughter, her sisters, her mother. The whole family is suffering tremendously as a result of this.
The Foreign Office is in contact with the authorities in the UAE about this case and says it's supporting the family. Its travel advice on the country does warn about the dangers of criticising people in the UAE online and says there can be serious penalties there for things which are not illegal in the UK. British academic Matthew Hedges was doing research in Dubai when he was jailed for espionage. The Foreign Office helped secure his release last year and hopes it can do the same for Ms. Sharavesh.
Our diplomats in the UAE have enormous experience in dealing with consular cases, as we saw from the Matthew Hedges case, and so she is getting the best possible service from the FCO.
Her Facebook insult could cost her 2 years in prison. She's told her lawyer she's terrified.
Felicity Huffman says she'll plead guilty in the U.S. college admission scandal. The Desperate Housewives star is one of 14 adults set to enter a guilty plea.
Do you plan to fight this? Actress Felicity Huffman revealing today she does not plan to fight, instead agreeing to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit mail fraud in connection with that massive college admissions scandal.
A generous donation will ensure our kids beat them out.
How generous?
$15,000. The Desperate Housewives star agreeing to plead guilty to paying $15,000 to have an SAT proctor correct her daughter's test answers. Today she released a statement saying, "I'm in full acceptance of my guilt and with deep regret and shame over what I have done, adding, especially, I want to apologize to the students who work hard every day to get into college and to their parents who make tremendous sacrifices to support their children and do so honestly. The 57-year-old actress is one of 13 parents now agreeing to plead guilty in the Operation Varsity Blues case. As for actress Lori Loughlin and her husband, accused of bribing their daughter's way into USC, they have yet to enter a plea. Today, Felicity Huffman's husband, actor William H. Macy, avoided questions.
Hi, William. How's Felicity doing?
Thanks for asking. I can't talk about it.
I heard that she pled guilty today. How's she holding up?
I can't talk about it.
Instead, it was Huffman herself who opened up about what she called her dishonesty, saying, "My daughter knew absolutely nothing about my actions, and in my misguided and profoundly wrong way, I have betrayed her. This transgression toward her and the public I will carry for the rest of my life."
It's the show that has launched music careers, so it's really hard to believe the Beatles only ever made one live appearance on Top of the Pops. That performance was more than 50 years ago, and no recording was kept of it. But now footage of the one appearance has turned up in Mexico.
Beatles rehearsing for their only ever live Top of the Pops appearance. Back in 1966, BBC shows were recorded on videotape, very expensive at the time, so wiped after a couple of weeks. Thought lost forever until now. The Fab Four, a fab find. 11 seconds of paperback writer unearthed in Mexico.
One-inch ranks Intel for film, domestic videotape, D2, D3.
Kaleidoscope specialise in tracking down missing TV. A Mexican Beatles fan got in touch after buying an 8mm film reel shot at home by a Liverpudlian family.
I think if you're a Beatles fan, it's a holy grail. There's no doubt about that. The Beatles only did Top of the Pops once live. And to think that, somebody in Liverpool was filming, off the telly in 1966, so to find it again after all those years later was just stunning.
At the Beatles Story exhibition, we showed the find to an expert.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
How important a discovery is this?
Well, we already have loads and loads of kind of audiovisual artifacts, more or less, that we can study. The idea that there's more out there is absolutely, it's amazing, really. There's no other word for it.
And it's not just Beatles footage which has been rediscovered. More than 240 lost Top of the Pops performances saved thanks to a fan of the show who recorded them at home.
Hello, this is Charles Henry Butler Pierce in Bangor, North Wales, making a test recording in September 1976. Hello.
The new discoveries, including T-Rex performing Metal Guru, will be featured later this month at the BFI South Bank's Music Believed Wiped event.
Here with Tuesday's news, we go for another break. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League, and SPPNG Hunters coach Michael Marum has changed his halves pairing again for this weekend's round 6 match against the Central Queensland Capras at Mackendall Park. This time, Justin Nyoka has been dropped at 5'8", and Jerry Teme moves in to take his place at halfback, pushing Ase Boas to his favoured 5'8" position. Joe Frank becomes Hunter number 80 when he makes his debut, while Moses Meninga and Bland Abavu return to the team as well. Coach Marum is asking for his players to give their 100% for this weekend's match.
Jerry comes into the side. He started off the bench last weekend, and he played a bit of dummy half, and then now he's playing at left half, number 7. Sorry. So hopefully he goes there and does a job for us. Ases moved back to his favorite right side. So Jerry, I thought last weekend he came off the bench. He can talk. You can hear from outside. Justin's okay, but again, it's just still raw. He came from Pangaea and he played 2 games already. And, third game last weekend, sort of his defense is a worry. I thought the other teams are targeting those edges now, so his tackle tag, he needs to work hard on it. So we're helping him in that part of his game. So.
Fortuna Fresh Central Dabaris, who locked horns on Sunday in their inaugural match against Kimbe Cutters, have successfully started their season by winning their first game. Dabaris dominated the first half with a 16-0 scoreline. In the second half, the Cutters came back strong with a home crowd advantage to score 3 tries, but it was not enough to stop the Dabaris, who hopped away as victors with a final scoreline 32 points to Cutters 16.
Both the Central Dabaris and Kimbe Cutters were given a traditional baptism as they made their way onto the field for the 2019 inaugural match in the National Rugby League competition. The Dabaris were welcomed by Kimbe-based Central residents. Similarly, Cutters were also initiated by their traditional elders onto the field. With crowds gathered to witness the inaugural match, it was down to the wire as both teams locked horns. With the Dabaris placing their hands on the ball, there was no turning back. Despite the strong defense and attack from Cutters, the Dabaris, banking on their techniques taught during training, saw them stab through to score their first try in less than 10 minutes. Moments later, a second try was scored, bringing the score to 12-0. And soon after, 2 more tries were scored within 20 minutes of the first half. Halftime score, the Dabaris 16, Cutters 0. In the second half, Cutters came back strong with a home crowd advantage to score their first try. The Dabaris in their second half didn't seem to have a game plan, making it accessible for the Cutters, who spotted the weak points, attacking in full force to score their second and third try, bringing the score to 16 points. The remaining 20 minutes got very defensive as both teams attacked evenly, and despite Cutters' home crowd advantage, the Dabaris were able to steal 1 more try 15 minutes before full-time. Full-time score, the Dabaris 32, Cutters 16. Celebrations continued for the Dabaris after the match, where Kimbe-based Central residents hosted dinner for the players and the Dabaris board. The event continued with presentations of medals to the players as well as gifts. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
The SRCPL Group National Title Amateur Golf Tournament 2019 will be held in Mount Hagen from April 19th to the 22nd. Golfers from all around the country will be in Mount Hagen to compete to represent PNG in other international tournaments. 2 private companies have come on board to sponsor this event.
Mount Hagen will be hosting a 4-day-long amateur championship to identify the best talents to represent Papua New Guinea at the world stage.
They represent the country, and they are chosen from events like this one. So this is a key and very important event.
Golf, not a common sport in the highlands and Papua New Guinea, is beginning to gaining momentum, but the main purpose is to use the sport for development. Mount Hagen Golf Club has been struggling to maintain the course, and today they were presented with a 55,000 kina check from 2 major sponsors for the tournament to come.
Mount Hagen Golf Club has never seen this kind of contribution, this kind of support. We had some tournaments in the past, but this one is the biggest and ever since Mount Hagen Golf Club was established.
The sponsors are SR Projects PNG Limited, who is the major sponsor of 30,000 kina.
Invest in the human resource. Of course, we have to invest also in the land also.
And City Pharmacy Group of Companies Limited, who co-sponsor the tournament with 25,000 kina.
Therefore, we're here to support Mount Hagen Golf Club through our Managing Director, Mr.
Mount Hagen Golf Course is one of the 3 golf courses in PNG after Port Moresby and Lae, which have 18 holes. It is a significant golf course that produces PNG's best international players like Soti Dingi, Brian Taikiri and a few others. This year's tournament will see competitors from at least 12 provinces coming to compete for the championship. Mount Hagen Golf President Max Kumbamong is urging for the sport to be recognized and supported as it also produces international players. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV Sports, Mount Hagen.
Australian triple Olympian Kerry Potthast, who holds 2 Olympic gold medals under her belt, will be the 27th guest speaker at this year's SP Sports Awards. Potthast represented Australia in the sport of beach volleyball for 20 years and will speak as a motivational speaker and mentor, sharing her experiences as an athlete.
Hi Papua New Guinea, my name is Kerry Potthast and I'm a triple Olympian with 2 Olympic medals under my belt. A bronze in Atlanta in '96 and a gold in Sydney 2000. I've been representing Australia in the sport of beach volleyball for over 22 years. And I'm going to be your 27th guest speaker of the SP Sports Awards, scheduled for May the 25th this year. This will be my first visit to Papua New Guinea and I'm definitely excited to meet you all in May so I can share some inspirational messages on how to have a mindset of a champion. So I will see you there.
Don't go anywhere, Trukai Sports will continue with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Game Fishing and the CPL group of companies presented 50 first aid kits worth a total of 10,000 kina to the PNG Game Fishing Association today. This presentation is a lead-up to the 44th National Game Fishing Titles, which begins on Friday.
With just a few days before the 44th National Game Fishing Titles tournament commences, the Port Moresby Game Fishing Club received 50 first aid kits worth 10,000 kina from the CPL group of companies. Presenting the first aid kits to the Game Fishing Club was CPL Foundation Project Manager Oti Lasagavibau. Oti says this presentation is timely with the tournament starting this Friday.
And I believe it is timely because the game's not too far away, it's on Friday. And so we believe that the first aid kit will be a lot more beneficial with the participants that are going to be taking part in the event.
POM Game Fishing Club President Matthew Brutnell thanked CPL for the first aid kits. He says the participants will need it in case of emergencies during the tournament.
44th national titles, which is gearing up to be one of the biggest in the history of PNG. So once again, thank you very much to the CPL group. They've kindly donated 50 first aid kits to the club, which will be a great benefit for all the boats out in the salt water, which a lot of them are going out into the high seas.
The National Games Fishing Titles tournament is held every 4 years, and for this year, Port Moresby will be hosting the 9-day tournament.
Port Moresby is the host. It starts on the 12th of April and runs through to the 22nd of April. So it's 9 days worth of fishing, and we're hoping to get at least 30 boats and 300 plus anglers.
Patricia Chiamo, National EMTV Sports.
In a move to intensify public interest in the Premiership, the NRL is considering a golden point overhaul which allows the losing team to walk away with something for their efforts. This comes after 3 games over the weekend went down to extra time. The Dragons, Sea Eagles and Panthers winning by field goals, leaving the West Tigers, Knights and Rabbitohs empty-handed at the end of round 4.
When a game goes to extra time, spectators are certain that the game will end in a drop goal. In 2016, the NRL removed golden point for finals games and introduced extra time. Under this rule, 5 minutes of extra time is played each way in the event of a draw at the end of the standard 80 minutes. And if scores are level at the end of extra time, the game will go to golden point. questions are still being raised about why the NRL won't implement the same policy right throughout the regular season. Under the proposed system, regular season wins would equal 4 competition points instead of 2, following the AFL's method. While winners of Golden Point games would take home 3 points, the losers walk away with 1 point. The idea will be discussed at the competition committee meeting at the end of the season and could be implemented as soon as year 2020. Helen Seah, EMTV World Sports.
All Black star Brodie Retallick wouldn't have looked out of place in the big basketball final. However, instead, back from an enforced rest, he's out to post more big numbers on his own this weekend in Super Rugby.
Getting ready to tangle with the Blues for an 8th straight season, a team Brodie Retallick never tires of beating. He's featured in 11 of the Chiefs' 12 wins and a draw over that period.
When you had likes of Tanero Latimer, Richard Kahui and Liam Messam like that week, they just drove the rivalry between the Chiefs and the Blues, and I guess I grew to understand it there.
The lanky North Canterbury youngster became the biggest Chiefs star of all after being discovered by coach Tom Coventry.
Probably turned up from Christchurch to Hawke's Bay as about 128 kgs and 6'8" and couldn't lift many weights, and he was thinking, what have I got?
He missed selection down there. I think people were waiting for him to grow up, and we were prepared to take a bit of a punt on him.
The pair won 2 Super Rugby titles together, and now Blues forwards coach Coventry has a new product, Tom Robinson, who has a bit of a young Retallick about him.
I was pretty skinny when I turned up here too, but he's playing extremely well, gets through a huge amount of work, and he's got the skill set to finish it off.
Sounds just like 75 Test Retallick, who's taking to the high seas this week as part of a radio promotion, a fishing roadie with Brodie.
I hear that was what you're practicing during your time off.
I did have one day fishing, but I managed to catch 2 undersized snapper that had to get chucked back.
Don't expect the same leniency against the Blues in Hamilton on Saturday.
And then in Strukai Sports, we go for our final break. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Strukai Sports. Strukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Showers in Popondetta with a top temperature of 29 degrees. Showers as well for Port Moresby, Daru, Kerama and Alota with a top temperature there of 31 degrees. To the Momasa region, a shower or 2 expected in Leh and Wau, the same as well for Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, some showers expected in Loranga over the next 24 hours. Rain and showers expected as well in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka with a top of 31 degrees. And in the Highlands region, the major centres Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabe can expect showers over the next 24 hours with early morning fog developing. And there is a renewal of a strong wind warning for all coastal waters. A strong southeasterly surge of 20 to 34 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small craft and boats are advised to take the necessary precautions before and after going out to sea.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Tuesday, the 9th of April 2019. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.